The DM and 0.000001%. Rape. Long time viewer, first time poster. Will try and make edits to formatting as needed. I think this will be a short one, but we will see. There's a bit of lead up. Let me know if I was a problem player or not. I'm still kind of on the fence about it. This story involves only me and the DM. Perhaps you can count the red flags. So, this happened fairly recently on a play by post format. I signed up to a Star Wars game. The setting seemed interesting. Set away from Movicha actors, and there was clearly a lot of attention to detail and love gone into the information being laid out. Players were enthusiastic, and so was the DM. I wasn't that familiar with the system, but it looks like a good enough game, right? So not being familiar with the system, I take my time creating a character. I usually play tanky or fighty individuals, but I've never really played a social character. So I make her a James Bond type, a suave operator in information gathering, who ended up in a crew of pirates, the PCs. About halfway through, a new thread goes up. Okay, let's see what's going on. Now, this DM likes to post walls of text without formatting. So sifting through the second introductory post is all fine and dandy. Wants anything out of eyeshot of other PCs to go unknown. No thought writing. So I'm thinking he's making it a bit more like a real table, where normally you wouldn't know what someone was thinking. Cool. Seems good. So, he goes on about making warnings in other posts and such, which is kind of odd to mention more than once. He wants to play a more mature game. Considering the site is PG, that usually means more violence or sexualized themes, such as flirting to get your way, so on. He also takes the time to outline any homebrewed character generation, such as no force users, so on. I should note, also, CG involved the maximum points allowed, so our characters were godlike compared to average Joe. So, onto the warning. He wanted to make sure people don't leave mid-game, because he's apparently had this issue before regarding the content his games involved, due to difference of opinion. Okay, he uses offended in quotations, too, and they leave, despite being warned prior. I kind of glazed over this section of his post, because honestly, this is a very long and hard to read piece, lacking punctuation and rambling on, so he's a short planner. Funanly, not less lawyer style GM, and goes on to say he always wants to challenge players. Lethal stuck scenarios, he says, will be rare, because he can think of 2 ways to escape it, so therefore you should be able to. Battles will be dangerous and so on. Basically just warning people it will be risky to get into firefights. Fair enough, but due to how powerful our characters are, will that really be true without fighting an ATST walker? Anti-infantry in a boxing ring? A little context. I like games that are gritty. When I run games, if someone dies, if it's better for the plot or tempo of the storytelling process, instead of dying, I might make a character lose a limb or have some kind of ongoing condition, giving the player the chance to retire or overcome this. And this game resonated with that part of me, and I don't take this kind of thing personally, because it's a development of a living, breathing character, not unlike a movie. Again, he seemed to follow this same kind of ideas I did. After all, a cool develop for Skywalker seems to be losing an arm, then getting a new robot arm, right? So then he starts flip-flopping on this 1500 word warning back and forth. Stuff like, I promise your characters won't die on a trip to the groceries, but I make no promises. But, now we get to the real warning. Adult themed game, not the Family Muppet movie style thing which involves torture and genocide. So I mean, okay, it's at this point he begins using lol full caps frequently in examples or after statements. But then we get to the crux of my issue. There may be chauvinism, objectivism, dark and dirty mature themes and humor at times. There may be sex, drugs and violence, even torture, slavery and rape. Don't panic. I'm not planning to rape your character. Lol. Now, Star Wars involves many of these themes up until the recent films, such as male-dominated universe, gritty humor and so on. Even slavery is a Star Wars theme between aliens. But rape? So he goes on to assure these do not happen all the time, nor will it be a main focus, but might come up. Mostly to NPCs, but not likely PCs. He goes on to say, if it's too offensive don't join. He also mentions snowflakes and such. So I'm kind of irritated at how lax he's taking this particular theme. So, in my foolishness, I praise him for taking things I like, and for the out of sight, no metagaming privacy portions of his explanation. I introduce my character, but request him to outright ban rape, since it's not a theme in Star Wars. Ever, while all others are generally driving forces or moments to overcome. In the same post, which has since been edited out by Simon Anop, I assure him I'm not judging his character, but this was a needless thing to include. So the discussion begins, which Shold ended immediately in good luck and goodbye. He begins by downsizing the issue with lols and words like hubbub. Most of the responses / examples have been deleted. I imagine to protect the game for other players, and not to shy them away. But it was a much longer and more complex conversation, and one that irritated me again and again. He would assure people, or just me, there would be a 0.00000000001% chance it would happen, and 1000s of chances to avoid it. So I would say, why not just ban it then, if it's statistically never going to happen. But in general he made me feel like the bad guy for defending a serious topic, one of which I was continually sure he couldn't represent respectfully. He would claim things like you're playing a pretty character who uses her body and style to get what she wants. Why wouldn't she get groped, drugged and raped? Or she's a beautiful woman in a pirate ship, she's gonna get assaulted, right? To which I had to say not all men are rapists and in prisons. Protections are focused on rapists and pedophiles, because they are frequently targeted for being particularly disgusting, even to murderers. But he just couldn't get the logic. He even compared being pretty, female and gay to being a naked swimsuit model in a men's prison. Around this time another account private messaged me to assure me, this guy isn't a bad person. Which, I thought, yeah, sure, but he's not making himself look good either. Anther player attempted a joke, but immediately deleted it, likely seeing this was a legitimate conversation about a sensitive topic, and finding their joke inappropriate. But not before the DM managed to quote it, permanently cementing it in the conversation. He even claims to be weirded out by all this talk of it, not wanting to be a weirdo. So at the end of a big back and forth, I say if rape is in, I'm out. Anyway, every single post he made was 1000s of words, defending his position on allowing this super ultra rare event happening, while touting fun. If this happens to your character, you'll have fun overcoming it, while my response was that's not how trauma works. See PTSD. Interestingly, I don't think any of his real responses were directed right back at me, but more of a showman speaking to a court of audience. All the while, lol and circular logic, and avoiding the issue, while quoting realism, and never going to happen anyway, and oh why not go gorgeous appearance wise, and stack all the bonuses? Well, if only being one step up from average gets you drugged and raped, why would I go further? It felt gross to be told I should be pushing further on my concept at the risk of her safety, when she's supposed to be attractive, but still a face in a crowd, so she can do her job. So, after trying to explain why rape is not suitable for a game, flying in the face of his Funenly rules, and listening to him claim it will be fun to avoid rape, or stop being a social spy, then I get the repeated idea that whatever I played, because I chose to be a female or gay or a naked hairy Wookiee, I was going to be raped in his first 0.00000000001% chance. So I said goodbye. His idea of a compromise was his DMPC captain says rape is not cool in his crew. Never once did he say rape was off the table, only citing how unlikely it is. Reviewing this argument, I've forgotten a lot of specific things that set me off, and it was only until writing this out that I noticed some larger back and forths have been deleted, likely because he wants to defend his project, or perhaps an admin got offended. Maybe he reported one or more of my posts. I would argue he could've done so by simply saying yeah, sure, rape is off the table, since it's never been in the setting anyway. And this happened a day after I wondered if I'd ever get a post here. No other thread was like this, and I remained unbiased. I wouldn't drag the conversation sideways and even continued on working on my character longer than I thought. Phew. TLDR. During character creation, DM and I get into a long, multi-post man 1,000-word argument about including rape. However unlikely. He began to make light of the subject with lols and used examples such as women getting dressed up and going to bars like normal situations and getting groped/drugged by every man in the bar upon entering. Most of the argument is now deleted. So I said my farewell. Edit. Since the days passing by, he's removed any argument we had and removed the mention of rape in his advert. But it's still not banned because he refused to do so. Now just stealthily behind. He's picked his 4 players and good luck to them. Hopefully I'm wrong and it'll be a fun campaign for them.